Okay, so we are live, people, and let's go ahead and get the screen shared. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get this video started, and then I'm gonna offer commentary on it. You know, um, it's a very interesting video. There's a brother that was in the U.S. Air Force speaking, in the video about his experience and stuff like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and do commentary, and I might even, you know what, I might even open up a, if anybody, I don't know if anybody want to come up here and talk about it, or if I'm gonna have time for that because I got stuff to do this morning. But let's go ahead and get the video started without further ado.
CBS News correspondent.
All right, hold up.
David Martin on race in the ranks.
Every single African American we've interviewed said they had to moderate their behavior so they weren't intimidated.
I had a very candid conversation with one of the individuals who passed me this information. He broke it down. You're big, you're black, with a deep voice. You're intimidating. And if you want to move on, you have to do something about it.
This week on 60 Minutes,
okay, now that right there is just weird because there's nothing intimidating at all about this. I mean, he just seems like a, regular, well, articulate, guy. Why would anybody say something like that to this dude? You know what I mean? But let's continue.
We reported on racial bias in the military. From the rank and file to officers, African Americans in the Air Force say they are treated differently than their white counterparts.
Okay, so 60 Minutes, I decided to do a whole series on this for whatever reason about African Americans who are in the military who are discriminated. They did a whole series on this. Okay.
Major Daniel Walker is an F-22 pilot.
On an Air Force program called Real Talk, hosted by Lieutenant General Brad Webb, he read comments made by other black pilots.
I have a couple of quotes I want to read off. You bet. My fighter experience was the most demoralizing experience in my life, and I've been homeless. The second is to be yourself and thrive.
Damn.
Thrive in a fighter squadron as a black man is an oxymoron. Either conform or fail. These are my friends. These are my brothers. And my sisters, actually.
Walker sat down with us to share his story.
This story is not uncommon. I can very easily attribute this interaction to that action on my part. But when you compare stories from people you've never met, and they're almost identical, down to the individual and down to the comments, you start to realize these are not singular events in one person's life.
Walker grew up in Dallas. His family told stories of his great uncle, Norman Scales, a Tuskegee Airman who earned the Distinguished Flying Cross for combat missions during World War II.
At 6 years old, to have your dad's uncle be a Tuskegee Airman and see the movies and hear about Uncle Scales, he's got a street name after him in Austin. Your family can't help but talk about him. And when I was born and they saw things in me, I felt at a very early age those hopes start to transition to my shoulders. He flew fighters and he changed the trajectory of my family's history. So that's what I'm going to do.
Determined to follow in those footsteps, Walker went to the Air Force Academy and from there to pilot training. Had you been told what to expect at flight school?
Unfortunately, yes. We've had alumni come back, black pilots who've gone through pilot training. The story was, you're going to go. They're going to treat you poorly. When you wash out, they're probably not going to keep you in the Air Force. So if you go, don't go trying to fly fighters. But in the grand scheme of things, probably don't go.
How did that play in your decision about whether to go?
Well, in my mind, I have to prove it can be done and then prove it can be repeatable.
Walker excelled at flight school and earned a coveted assignment to fly the Air Force's top-of-the-line F-22 stealth fighter. So you go to F-22 school?
Yes, sir.
What was that like?
It was a blast. It was the most fun I'd ever had in my entire life. Seeing things and doing things with so much power underneath you and behind you and around you, it's surreal.
Did you feel your race going through the F-22 training?
Not initially. I got feedback at the end of this course, however, that it was very evident that I was having a good time and maybe I shouldn't have been, or I talked too much. I started to realize that maybe there was something more to this. Things like, if you don't assimilate, we will weed you out. I have to ask myself, is this a me thing or is this something else? And that takes a lot of energy to carry that question mark around with you.
After his training, Walker joined an F-22 squadron in Langley, Virginia.
Did you feel like you belonged?
I did initially. You start to hear feedback like, he's too quiet. It seems like he thinks he's too good to be here, too good for this place. And they try to be a different form of quiet, or the way he walks is intimidating.
After 11 years as an Air Force officer, Walker decided it was time to move on.
I had to really start taking seriously my happiness, my well-being. Ask myself, am I willing to continue fighting uphill and chance going back to a squadron where I have to manage myself this way and sacrifice these things personally? Will I get anywhere?
Walker's departure leaves the Air Force with fewer than 50 black fighter pilots. Lieutenant General Brad Webb.
It's a loss for the Air Force. He was an incredible pilot, incredible officer, outstanding officer for us, but he served our nation well.
Walker has been accepted at Harvard Law School.
That flag still means a ton to me. I have something unique to add to my country in a different plane. My decision to go to law school, which is what I have planned next for myself, centers around that. How can I take everything I've experienced here, to include these interviews in this moment in time, and channel it, this energy, toward affecting change? If I'm going to do anything with the rest of my life, I think it's going to be that. It has to be that.
All right, now let's talk about this. Why? My thing is this. Wait, hold on. How long do black people, and let's go back to this view. How long do black people have to keep fighting this battle? And that's the question that I have. I mean, this guy's great uncle was a Tuskegee Airman, okay, in World War II, fighting against the Germans and stuff in World War II. Okay. How long, you know what I mean? He was fighting the racism and stuff back then. He was fighting the Germans and racism back home. And my question is, how long do black people keep fighting these battles where we try to convince other people to treat us like humans and treat us, with dignity? Okay, when other groups come to America and they don't do that, the first thing they do is they just get businesses and they figure out how to outmaneuver black people economically. Okay, but yet black people are stuck trying to convince other groups and convince other people, to, hey, treat us fair. Hey, treat us like humans. Hey, treat us like this. Treat us like that. You know what I mean? And this is an old game. Okay, this is an old charade. Now, this fighter pilot, very articulate guy. Okay, very smart guy, very, and I'm not, a gay man or anything like that, but a very good looking guy as well. I mean, he should be able to walk into any facet of life and excel as long as he applies himself. I mean, he should have no issues or problems. Okay, but yet he goes to the Air Force and they start telling him stupid things like, "Well, you're big, you're black." You know what I mean? That's the kind of shit black people go through, as a result of integration. Is that you're in spaces with people who are intimidated by you. You're in spaces with people who are uncomfortable with you. Okay? And this has been a theme on my YouTube channel for a while now. Okay. And I know the brother said he said at the end he wants to go to law school. He wants to go do things in law school and stuff. And that's all well and good. If that's where his heart is and that's where he feels that's his calling, then all the power to him. Okay? I wish him well. But I always say, in the Black community, when are we going to stop putting our energy into complaining about racism and trying to bring attention to racism and trying to address racism, and put that same energy into, okay, let's create, and facilitate a situation within our own community where we can just facilitate each other and facilitate our own children, so that our children have something that they can come to and say, okay, well, I can go out and interact with the larger American society, or I can still come back into my own community and I still have a place in my own community. I still have a job in my own community where I can still, live a very rewarding and prosperous life, and still make a living off working with people in my own community. I don't just have to always go all the time and be around people who are not in my community, who may feel uncomfortable around me. When are we going to put our energy into that? Because you see, I think it's more productive to actually put your energy into things like that than to put your energy into this whole thing about, well, we have to, we have to convince people who are uncomfortable around us to be comfortable around us, or convince them at least to not say anything around us when they are uncomfortable around us. You know what I mean? Because we've been fighting that battle for 400 years in this country. Even before the civil rights movement, we were fighting that battle. How long does that battle have to go on? How long does that battle have to go on before Black people say, you know what? We have the power and the ability and the intelligence to create our own situation and facilitate our own situation here in America, just like other groups do. Latinos, they got their own banks, they got their own companies and stuff. Latinos almost don't even have to leave their community to make a living. They can make a whole living. They got their own insurance companies and stuff, but it's just their own people and stuff working in there. They could live their whole life, okay, work with their own community, work with their own people, okay, and don't even really have to interact with other people outside their community on a big basis like that. How come Black folks can't create and facilitate that? Why do we keep having to go into this facet of society or go into that facet of society and be around people and only to have people say, well, I'm uncomfortable around you. You're a big Black guy. Okay. You flying F-22 fighter jets, one of the most lethal fighter jets in the world, but all that firepower, all those armaments and stuff, you train to go overseas and drop bombs and stuff on people in third world countries and stuff, but you worried about some Black guy? Oh, he's a big Black guy. You know what I mean? What you know what I mean? Black people shouldn't go through that shit, man. It's 2022. We shouldn't still be going through that. You still should be in those situations. So that's my question. Is it really worth it? And that's a smart brother. He's going to go on and do something great in the Black community. Okay? But we need more brothers like him to say, hey, I want to facilitate my own community. I want to create something that's going to facilitate not necessarily, I want to try to make America more fair. But no, I want to facilitate my own community so that my own community has something that they can come back to and something that they can enter. They don't have to just be dependent on people who may feel uncomfortable around them. But that's what I got to say for today. Let me know what y'all think. Leave comments, subscribe. Peace. Get the likes up.